Hey guys, it's Kane here. Welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to create multiple form applications, and we will basically use two forms to transfer data from one form to the other. So without losing any further time, let's get started. I'm going to call to my applications as multiple forms app and press OK to create the project. And once we have done it, as soon as this pops up, it will obviously show you form 1, which is the default form that pops up when you create a new application. So once this is done, we're gonna go into and create a new form. So I'm gonna come in here, select, right click, select add, and we're gonna put into Windows form. From in this screen we can select a Windows form and we can add a new form to our application. Currently we have only one form, that is form 1, and we're gonna add another one which is form 2. As you can see, we have now two different forms, the first one being form 1 and the second one being form 2. So we're gonna use these forms now, design them in a way, and then we're going to transfer data from one form to the other. So in order to transfer the data, we're going to use some of the toolbox components. So I'm going to go with the easy ones. I will first drag and drop a group box just to encapsulate a common container for the components that I'm going to use. So there you go, a group box. And I will just use a couple of basic Windows form components, such as a label, a text box. Let's just find it in here, and let's select a combo box as well. So just by clicking on the group box, I will go in here and select a style for it. Just select Verdana as the font type, and when I select this for the group box, all the components inside will have the same thing, which is the big advantage of using a group box. Now this label will be only used to provide information, so I don't need to name it, but what I will do with it is that I'm just gonna type what kind of information I want the user to enter. So I'm gonna say name, comma, surname, which is what I expect from the user to enter. Once this is done, I'm just gonna make this pop out. Maybe I should also decrease the font size a bit. Seems a little bit too big. Yeah, this looks better. And for the combo box, we will obviously have to ask them to do something with it. I'm just gonna select the age for it. Yeah, it's in here. Age, combo box, and name and surname. Let's just put one more. Maybe we can put a radio button for sex. So just find the radio button here, and 1 and 2. So I'm gonna put 1 in here and another one next to it. So that should be male and female. So we can copy paste this, and just underneath the age I'm gonna use sex here. Now once I have done this, we have a component, we have a basic form that has all these components that we can use to transfer to the second form. I think these are enough, so let's just make it a little bit smaller, and drag and drop 2 buttons. So I'm just gonna drag and drop 1 button. Actually 1 button will be enough, just we already have done how to clear the form many times, so I don't think I need to show that again. So instead of using that part, I'm just gonna type submit here and submit all these components into the new form. It's important to name your components, so just double check them. So this is text, we can call it text full name. The H1 I can call it combo box H, and the male and female we can call it radio button male, radio button female. Finally, we will need to have the submit button, so we can call it button submit. Now you have kind of like a profile that we can offer the user to fill, and when the user presses on the profile, on the button, they will submit this information to the second form, which is what we are trying to achieve here. Enter all fields, please. Yeah. Before designing, writing the code for form 1, I'm just gonna go into form 2, and with each and every one of these I will also use the same kind of format, which is gonna be a group box, obviously in here, and show every single field one by one. So I'm gonna expand this and select a font style for it. Let's select Verdana, and let's say 12, which is enough, I guess, to show the data. And finally we're gonna put a couple of labels here to show each and every one of the data. First one, I'm just gonna name this as name, displaying the name of the user. Just call it full name. Expand it a little bit, yeah. Copy and paste it. Now that you have it, you can copy and paste it. The next one is the H. Now let's make the first letter capital. It's important to be consistent. And finally we have sex. Right, I'm gonna use 3 more labels, each one referring to the information that I'm gonna get from the user. So that should be the full name. Now these ones I got to pay attention to them because they will be like different from the others. I will also have to name these labels because I'm gonna access to their state. So come down and name them. So I'm gonna make this label full name, and let's make this one blue so that it can stand out from the rest. Let's just make it like medium blue, and maybe bold as well. It's up to you really, but I'm just gonna make mine bold. Yeah, it stands out now compared to the others, and I'm gonna put the H in a similar way. Just type H in it. And finally we're gonna have to do sex, which is the last one. Can get a little bit a chore to, you know, design all of this, but once you have done it, you know, just you don't have to do it again. So I guess that's fair enough. This one I will say label sex, and that one will be label H. Yeah, more or less now everything is ready for our form. You know, we have age, sex visible here. I'm just gonna put a button as well, just for the user to go back and, you know, submit a different kind of like information if they want to. So let's just put a button here. And for the button name, I'm just gonna say just go back, which is basically what it will do. It will just go back, oops, to the previous form. So I'm just gonna name it button go back, and as a text to go inside, I'm just gonna write Go back. I think this is a fair design now. It looks okay to me. It's not terrible. So let's just put profile here. So we have a name, we have an age, we have sex, which are coming from form 1. Maybe we should also put them to there, like this. And these can be in here, so that it will display the name properly. If it's a long name, at least we'll have enough space. Yeah, cool. Now we're gonna go into form 1 and we're gonna type the information, the necessary code there to get data and transfer it. One last thing, however, before we move back to form 1, make sure that the modifier state of each and every one of these labels is public. Now this actually violates the rights of object-oriented programming. So if you are doing object-oriented programming, it is a terrible idea to go into and change the private modifier into public. But right now I am assuming that you are learning visual programming, not object-oriented programming. Hence, this cheap tactic will work for you. Generally, all components are defined private by default because they are not meant to be modified outside of their own class, which is the form data. But since you do not know encapsulation at this point, or I assume that you do not, you're gonna use this cheap tactic in here, which is changing the private modifier to public, so that this state here for the component, which is the label, can be accessible from outside this specific form. So this means that I can change the sex, age and full name from form 1, which is usually not available to me by default, but just by changing the modifier to public, it will be accessible from any form. Now that we have done this, we can go into the submit button and type the necessary statements to get the data. It's a nice idea to define variables for each and every one of the data you're gonna store. So we have a full name, we have an age, we also have a sex, which is perfect. I'm just gonna open up the form load method because currently the age doesn't have any data. So let's just, add the data for it. So I'm gonna say for integer I equals to, let's say, 18, less than or equals to 100, I plus plus, and each time this loop iterates, the data will be added to the combo box. So combo box age dot items dot add will be the I value. You can say I dot toString. Now when the form is loaded now, we will be able to see hopefully the age being filled and ready. So I'm running it. As you can see, when the application runs, the only thing that runs is form 1. So you won't see form 2 unless you trigger it on purpose. So whenever I open this, it starts from 18, goes up to 100. Just because I typed that loop structure in form load, we can see this age in here available. You can also select male or female, and we can type our names in here. So I'm gonna close this now and go into the button submit and take each and every one of these values one by one. So I'm gonna say first thing is that full name equals to this. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. Full name, not full name, sorry, txt full name dot text dot toString. So that's the full name. Age will be equals to combo box age dot selected item dot toString. Finally, we have a radio button, so I'm gonna say if radio button male dot checked, then it means the sex is male. Here's the quotation mark, yeah, here, male. And else if the radio button female dot checked will be sex equals to female. Now that we have the full name, age and sex available to us, which means we selected all these values, we're gonna trigger form 2 here to show the data. To do that, I'm just gonna create a new form 2 inside form 1. So form 2 f2 equals to new form 2. This is related to object-oriented programming really, because you are creating an instance of form 2, which means I'm creating basically an object out of the form 2 class, and I'm gonna show that. But before doing that, I'm gonna access to the state of the labels that I just changed to make public and initialize their text value to the values that I got from here, which means the label full name text will be initialized to full name, assigning whatever full name I entered here into this label. So this label now will display that information. We're gonna do the same thing for the others as well. So the next one will be sex dot text, initially sex itself, which is the variable we used in here, and finally we have f2 dot label age, which is the value that I found in here. Now age is a number normally, but what we do in here is that we have an age over here that is taken as a string value. Remember that all form components return you string value. Even though they do not look like string, they are actually string, like in here. 18 to 100, they are numbers, but when I add them, I convert it to string. So when I get it, it is also a string value. The final thing I like to do is to show this. So I'm gonna say f2.show. f2.show will display form 2. If you want to hide form 1 when you display form 2, you can set the visibility to false for the form, which means it will close form 1, it will make it disappear, and it will show form 2. So I'm gonna run this and test the condition. So this application now seems to work. I'm gonna type my name, click on here, select my age as 22. I wish I am 22, and select a sex. Whenever I click on submit, now we see the data in form 2. So my name, my age and sex, they are all visible. Now we didn't fill the part for form 2, so go back is right now it doesn't work. And another problem is when I close form 2, the application still runs at the back, because form 2 was not the default form of the application. Hence, even if I close this, the application does not close, it's still running, and you can see it in here. It is still continuing to be debugging. The only thing that we can terminate the program is to actually close form 1. So I'm just gonna stop here and go into form 2 and fill this part. So I'm gonna double click on this, and whenever the user clicks on that one, we're gonna say F1. Let's say form 1, F1 equals to new form 1. and f1 dot show, which will display f1. It will create a new instance of it. I'm gonna run this application now, and we will also have to make sure that this one is closed. Let's just close this one. And save it. So I'm gonna run this application and select my age from there, mail, submit, and information is visible, and whenever I go back, I can go back to form 1 again and submit for a different application. Now it didn't exactly solve our problem, so we're gonna go into form 1. Instead of visibility, I will say this close, which is I think a better way of dealing with the problem. Rather than hiding it, we just close it. And another issue is that I want to basically make this one drop down list rather than drop down, which will basically lock the elements, so we can't basically type anything inside. So I'm going to run the application one last time. So we select an age from there. Just going to select female now and then type Jane. And I submit the data. So this is form 1. Submit the data and it should basically show the form. So whenever you come here, make sure to display it. This line somehow created a problem for us. Never mind, I can just use hide for it. Just use hide, it's fine. It's the same as visibility, so it wouldn't create any big problem. I'm gonna come in here, expand this, so you can now select an age using the arrows. I'm just gonna make my age 95 and select male and submit the data. It will display the data in here. Now if I want to go back, I can go back. If I want to submit, I can submit, and so forth. Now whenever I submit, obviously because I didn't do any kind of validation, it will not display anything. So basically when you have components in here to submit, make sure that these are all validated. So you have to basically go in here and check whether the user have left them empty or not, because if it's empty, it cannot be converted to a string value, which will then create a problem for you. But more or less, this is how you can transfer data from one form to the other. If you fill them, it should work just fine. Right, that is probably the end of what I wanted to show you today. So this works now, and each time make sure that you either do a validation for the fields that you identified, or what you could do is that you fill them all together. So whatever you fill here, it should be okay and be displayed in the next form. So this is the end of my video for multiple forms. In the next video, we're gonna explore the list box. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.